Live from Los Angeles. Welcome back to Good Morning, LaLa, and furthering the conversation around EQ, our emotional intelligence. We have Dr. Carla Manly in the house, an expert psychologist, author, advocate, and these amazing books, Joy from Fear and Aging Joyfully. It's perfect.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
So inspired by your mornings. Your honey is an awfully lucky man.
He is. I'm lucky too. He's lucky.
I love that.
On Transformation Tuesday, I think this is an incredible conversation on transforming fear into joy. And especially in this age where we're all burned out. So what is really kind of the difference between burnout and fear, and how does it correlate?
Burnout is the body's sense and the mind's sense of being exhausted after encountering chronic stress, where the system, we're intended to have a fight or flight response only occasionally when there's a real threat in the environment. But given today's environment, we're constantly perceiving threats, not real threats. There's no bear waiting around the corner or tiger, but we have these constant threats, whether it's political, whether it's toxins in our food, whether it's unhealthy relationships. And so elevated levels of cortisol, adrenaline, just flooding our system and leading us. Another really big piece of that is that we have this sense that we must achieve, that we must be perfect, we must look perfect, we must act perfect. And so much of the media makes it look that way. The person next to us or the person on Facebook or wherever is looking absolutely perfect. So we think we need to be that way as well. And so underneath all of that is this fear. I'm not good enough. I'm not perfect enough. I'm not worthy. I must keep achieving and moving. And then we get really exhausted and burned out because we're on this really fast hamster wheel. And what would happen if we just paused, realized how perfect we are? We're all fallible. We all make mistakes. We're all imperfect. But in a way, we are really perfect. And it's not the material gain in the outside world that will really give us what we need. What we need is a connection to our divine, whatever that is. We need a sense of slowing down. And this is what I believe joy is. We need that sense of joy that is really in us. And people will often say, well, what's the difference between joy and happiness? And I'll say, well, I like to look at it this way. Pleasure is something that you get from a substance or from an event. Happiness is something that you feel when the world is good and everything is great, right? I feel happy because I did this or that. Joy is an eternal light that we're all born with, and I liken it to like a little candle, a little votive, and we're born with this votive that's glimmering, and then we have life situations and events through childhood, adolescence, adulthood that kind of create a soot around the glass case. And the more the soot builds up and we don't clean it off because we don't pause or we don't have the awareness, but the joy is always there. It is just there waiting for us to clean off the buildup and realize, wait a second, this is good. Who I am is good. Yes, I can keep striving to be more aligned with my higher power, with my beliefs, but really in essence, and do you see how then that makes joy so accessible? And all of that soot is the buildup of our fears, many of which are irrational.
I just love that. So how can a person who believes or wants to believe that there's this little votive candle inside that's lit, how can they access that and then sort of turn it into something that radiates out from them? So how can they access that joy that's inside themselves in a consistent way through the pause?
One of the things that I love doing is I volunteer once a week at a drug and alcohol rehab center to teach meditation. Who would think meditation could be an incredible gift to these women? I've done it for years and years now, and I'll run into them in the community, and they'll say, Dr. Carla, it's so good to see you. You've changed my life. And they'll access my, videos on YouTube once they're out of treatment. Why? Because it stills the mind. So instead of reaching for substances, instead of reaching for some sort of addiction, they learn that they have the ability. And so to answer your question, that's how we can access joy. Meditating, stopping the mind, and it doesn't need to be a seated formal meditation. I'm kind of a busy bee, so I meditate when I walk. I meditate when I'm doing the dishes. One of my favorite things to do is wash dishes or sweep the floor, because those are all meditative things. So we can stop the hamster wheel mind and really just get in touch, release. I was listening, to your talk before I came on, and how important it is to get that divine connection, whatever that is. If your higher power is nature, love, God, whatever it is, to really tune into that and know that that's what you're accessing. You're getting rid of all this extraneous fear, all of these voices that are telling you that you're not safe, that you're not good enough.
What would you say for people that, because I completely agree, and I think that even if I'm not in fear, even whatever, just the amount of generating that we do every day, I get burnout because I need to reconnect to source. And if I don't reconnect to source, nothing works in my life. But for people that are not necessarily advanced meditators, or they can't really tap in at that level, what other things can they do to begin to transform the fear to joy?
Some of the things that you can do that are really simple is to create a gratitude jar. So you create a clear jar, whatever it is, a cup, anything, put it on your countertop and fill it with little positive thoughts, whether it's a positive song or a positive poem or a positive affirmation. And then when you're starting to feel stressed, simply reach in, pull one out, read it to yourself. Deep breath in. I'm a big breathing fan. Deep breath out. Deep breath in, because when you breathe like that, you're bringing on your parasympathetic nervous system. You cannot help but slow yourself down, because you're taking these deep 4-count inhalations, deep 4-count exhalation, and your body's saying, I'm safe. And then that is one of the most portable, cost-effective, because it's free, ways of learning to be present and mindful. Another one that's really easy is when you're eating or drinking, pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to the taste of your oatmeal, to the taste of your tea. Really savor it, because that brings you back into the present. And when you're savoring the present, the busy mind that wants to torture you doesn't really have much of a chance.
No, but Dr. Manly, not all fear is bad. Some fear can be constructive. So how can one decipher between destructive and constructive fears?
Okay. Fear does serve a purpose. So it's the fear that says, hey, wait for the green light at the crosswalk so that you don't get run over by a car, or steer clear of the snarling dog. That's all. That is real fear, rational fear. Then we move into what I coined the terms of destructive fear and constructive fear. Destructive fear has a loud, mean voice. It will tell you you're not good enough, that you have to stay busy, or that you're worthless, or you're imperfect, or it has this negative commentary going on. It's a bully, and that's how I look at it. It's a bully on a sidewalk, and we are so used to that bully on the sidewalk telling us what we can and cannot do. If we turn that bully around and look for the soft, quiet side, that's constructive fear. And it will tell us that change is possible, that we can find our better selves and continue that path. And there's always, but we must slow down and listen to it. So if you can use that image of the bully that's very present, very talkative, very loud, and always negative. And then there's a softer side, the yin and the yang of it. And that's constructive fear. And then if you start listening to constructive fear and then start taking action, that's where transformational fear comes in. That's how you transform your life, by really believing that you can do it one step at a time, getting the support you need if you're not feeling strong enough to do it on your own, and making it through that way, just bitsy steps.
So how can we age joyfully? This is an important conversation. Especially here in Hollywood, we'll never readily admit our age. I mean, women for centuries never wanted to admit their age. So how can we age joyfully?
Well, that's my second book. It just came out. And aging joyfully, to me, we have a culture that believes that we're beautiful at 20, and then beauty stops there. I believe that beauty is in here. And so when I look at somebody, I'll say, oh my God, I just saw the most gorgeous person. And my husband or my son will look and go, what? And I'm reading energy. I'm not paying attention to the outside. I'm reading energy, because That's what's important. So if we start valuing the inside of a person, how they treat other people, how they treat themselves, to me, that creates an eternal radiance that has nothing to do with chronological years. And yes, if we want to look pretty on the outside, then do what you want to do so that you like the face in the mirror, if that's what you want to do. But really cultivating that sense that you're never past your prime. Me, I'm just, for the first time in my life, feeling free. I'm feeling free, like I have this entire, I don't know how many decades I have on the planet. We never know, even if we're 10, right? So what do I want to do? And you open up this world where your kids are grown and you're free. And you look, you go, every day is this like amazing opportunity, and I'm doing work that I love to do. And so if we start following our passion, and also I believe that one of the ways to age joyfully is to volunteer, give back. Give back. If it's financially, I try and give financially. I try to give of my hands, and I think that creates an ageless sense of beauty. And if we also then move into, I go in both books really into working on your relationships, relationship with yourself, getting true with yourself, knowing what that looks like, knowing what your moral compass is, and following it ferociously. That creates joy. That creates radiance.
Ferociously. Ferocious. I don't think there's anything ferocious about you. You are just radiating joy. Yeah. Thank you for all the light and wisdom that you shared with us this morning. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you.
Find me my website, drcarlamanly.com, M-A-N-L-Y. Same on Facebook, same on Instagram, same on LinkedIn, same on Twitter.
All the things.
Yes.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned back for more Good Morning LaLa.